Hi everybody, this is Trinity and you're listening to Essence Ever Truth Radio. Today is going to be a long episode, so buckle in, get a snack, get a drink, get a pillow, whatever you need. So we're going to cover something that, and I always say this in the beginning of my videos, so just bear with me. You come here for a reason, so let's get right into it. I, of course, want to talk about stuff that nobody else is talking about. I always think that that's super important. And everybody seems to be focused right now on the men aspect of the files. And I don't want to discount the women from the files. Ghislaine Maxwell was not the only woman. Everybody seems to think she was a one-woman operation. I covered Kayla Shuliak yesterday. No, sorry, I think the day before yesterday. And that was Epstein's longtime girlfriend of 10 years. Who was supposed to get the mass fortune that he left behind. She's not the only one. I'm sorry, I have my Magda India. I'm not feeling great, but we're going to push through until at least I lose my voice. So, anyway. So, I was unaware that there's something called the Epstein's Victims Compensation Program. So, apparently it's been for a very long time. When you do something like this, right? Let's say somebody takes you to court. Okay, for example, remember P. Diddy, right? And Cassie Ventura put out, she went to sue him or whatever. 24 hours later, he settled. Nobody ever settles unless they're guilty. That's just the way it is. Everybody's like, oh, they only do that because they don't want their name to be dragged through the mud. No, nobody cares. You don't give anybody money, not millions of dollars on top of that, unless you have something to, I don't care what anybody else says. Okay? Okay. So his estate value is estimated at $914 million at the time the program started. And I'm trying to remember what year it actually started. Because, you know, I already have my stuff here. So just bear with me today. This is why I wanted to make it so long. Because we're going to cover a lot. Oh, and by the way, while I'm looking for the year for some odd reason, I don't have it here. I was talking about, so earlier this morning, I know you heard of Aaron Partners, and I know you heard of Midas Touch, right? Huge platforms. And I want to say it was yesterday morning. And my day's all mixed up, so. But anyway, they came out and all of a sudden it became big news about the Sultan and DP World. And I was like, oh my God, you guys are so late. Then this morning, they were talking about Ivanka, Trump's first wife, and her connection to Russia, and then their collusion. And I was like, okay, I did that. I pulled up my video that I did 11 months ago that exactly said everything that just came out in mainstream and independent news stations this morning. So if you want to see that, you can go to my YouTube channel under Essence Ever Truth Radio or Lovespiracy, or you can go to my Rumble channel. That's also there. Everything you're about to hear in the news is already there and has been there for almost a year. All of the connects, and I'm talking about times, dates, people, connections, money, honeypot, the whole thing. How he became an asset. And I think I covered the asset aspect a couple of days ago, but this one is deep as shit. I did a 5-part. You know how I remember that I had did it? And it was a 5-part. It was right after the whole fiasco with Zelensky in the White House. And then I was making all of these different connects on how come Trump was treating him like an asshole. And how, you know, how it was the connect of him, you know, bowing down and doing what he wanted to do for Putin. So go and check that out. Because I'm really not going to cover that today. That other one is 5 parts. Go to Rumble. It's Trinity Lovespiracy. And my Facebook. I think I have it here on my Facebook, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I already told you where to go get it. I'll probably put a link in it. Okay, so the total compensation that was paid was $121 million. Okay, between 2019 and 2021. Okay, 2019 is the year that he died. And it was distributed over 135 victims. This is where I kept trying to explain that I thought that it was weird that only a handful of women were coming out. The women that already came out and got money, either they signed NDAs or they just don't want to come out. But a lot of women had already done it and they received money. One of the people that got money, which I didn't know. Okay, so the claim process. Victims had 9 months to file the claims with no cap on individual awards. Claims were evaluated on a case-to-case basis. No prior settlements barred participants, although previous awards would reduce potential compensation amounts, right? Privacy features. The program incorporated measures to protect the privacy of victims, which initially encouraged participation. So we already know how that whole thing played out, right? Now, here's the shit kicker, right? So Virginia Giuffre, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, the one who had unalived herself not too long ago, and one of the first people that spoke out. She sued Prince Andrew. I don't think that's what his title is anymore. Anyway, and she got, and I want to say an undisclosed amount. And this is from this fund. Didn't know this fund existed at all. Okay, and then of course it got proven not too long ago. Andrew was like, that's not me. There's a picture with her and him. And he was like, oh, that's Photoshop. And then we actually found out that it was legit. So she was vindicated on that one. So there's supposedly still ongoing investigations. People really don't know that this has been going on for a really long time, right? You don't set up a compensation package and you just literally, you call it, what was it? The Epstein Victims Compensation Program. It's a freaking program because he knew so many people were going to come out. He wasn't fighting anybody. He was like lining women up. What did I do to you? Boom, here's some money. Boom, here's some money. Boom, here's some money. You know who else had to give out a ton of money? J.B. Morgan Chase. They had to give out $290 million. So it suggests more funds could ultimately be available for victims depending on ongoing legal proceedings, right? So of course we're still going through the process. So if you heard my last live, I was talking about both islands and Zora Ranch. So, and the Sultan, even though he lost his position, I think he's still going to get indicted. But we're the only country right now that's not doing anything. We could care less. Okay. Anyway, so this whole fund came out. Everybody started kind of coming out of the woodwork. And considering, I think we see 7 people repeatedly, the fact that there's 135 that received the money in this fund that he had to pay out, tells you that there's a lot more that the DOJ is not covering at this point. Besides them just hiding the files, knowing that there's going to be a connection. Eventually, people are going to find out exactly who it was that got paid. And they had to come up with proof. You couldn't just walk in and claim that you went to the island. You had to have proof that there was some form of abuse, and then you were given a check. A lot of them have undisclosed amounts because their information was a lot tougher than a lot of other women who became women but were definitely the ages of 13, 14, 15, and 16. So those are the ones that had to give up the most amount of cash. So this is how much Giuffre, Virginia got. She got $15 million. And the money was given, or the settlement was reached in 2022. She had alleged, of course, that there was abuse by Andrew when she was a minor. And then that was pretty much it. So it says recent reports indicates that portions of the funds were sourced from the royal family, including a loan from the Queen. How long has she been dead? She knew what was going on. The king knew what was going on. Everybody knew what was going on. Nobody's talking about that either. You should bring Charles down here, right? Didn't Trump just go over there before the files came out? Yes. Yes. Because they're all in on it. Okay. So we're going to move on to the next thing. All right. Now we're going to talk about one of the women. Like I said, I covered Kayla Shuliak the other day. And she's supposed to be the one that gets all this money. He had another girl. Her name is, and I have to look because I can't pronounce these names. Her name is Nadia Marcinico. And she was considered his global girl. Now, here's what, first of all, she's gorgeous, right? You would already expect her to wind up somewhere. So here's a little bit about her. Okay, so her name is Nadia Marcinko, Jeffrey Epstein's global girl, missing since files were released. Now, she's MIA. We don't know if she is unalived. All we know is that when her name came out, she just disappeared. Her parents are calling, like, there's a whole investigation on trying to find her. But she can't be found as of January of 2024. She's just MIA. Okay. So it says, an aide of the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein has been missing since a New York court unsealed details about the case earlier this week. The document details on how Epstein ran a sex trafficking scandal at the time. Nadia, I'm just going to say Nadia, who spent years by Epstein's side, has not been seen at her home since the public release of the Epstein files. Now, mind you, this was back in January. So this is like the first bullshit release, you know, where they had all those Republican pro-MAGA people coming out with their little binders and shit. So she's been gone since then. Not with this recent dump, the old one that nobody cared about. Or people thought they should. Anyway. So it says the model turned pilot is one of the most mysterious and elusive characters in the Jeffrey Epstein saga. Epstein brought Nadia to the U.S. in 2001 when she was 15 years old. He often used to call her his Yugoslavian sex slave, according to testimonies by other victims. So she's not like some kind of a fantasy or she didn't exist. No, they were victims that were like, yo, Nadia was there. She had a lot to do with what was going on. Reports reveal that as years went by, Nadia morphed into an abuser herself and continued to stay with Epstein. She often flew with the U.S. financier around the world on his private plane Lolita Express, and a name it received because of all the underage girls. So you already know what that means. Okay. She has been accused of procuring victims for Epstein and sometimes even participating in the abuse, but has never faced charges despite the accusations. Of course, because she's missing. Okay. That's a given. In a video from 2017, Nadia is featured playing a prank on a flight instructor at a Palm Springs airport, initially presenting herself. Anyway, she was saying, hey, I know how to fly. And the guy was like, oh, yeah, sure. And then she did a whole bunch of acrobatic shit. Anyway, why that's in here, nobody cares. Anyway, so when it was invoked, she invoked her right against self-incrimination dozens of times, right? The same thing that Maxwell keeps doing, right? She keeps pleading the fifth. She has the right to plead the fifth, and nobody's surprised. But it was revealed on Friday as part of the troves of documents that were unsealed this week. The documents stem from a 2015 civil suit by Virginia Giuffre, who says she was one of the many girls trafficked by Epstein and his partner, Ghislaine Maxwell. A new judge on Wednesday began unsealing the identities of people linked to the case, who supposedly unalived himself in 2019, as he awaited trial for his crimes. So some of the notable inclusions in the documents, which include more than 1,000 pages of depositions and statements, were former Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Stephen Hawking, and pop star Michael Jackson. I'm going to go with the MJ thing. I don't know where to go with that one. I mean, I really don't. I really, really don't. And recently a lot of different information has been coming out, pro, con, so I don't think he's as important as all the other people I'm going to discuss. Just put it that way. Okay, so we covered that. Okay, so here's another, and I titled this Epstein's Angels Like Charlie's Angels. So we got Kayla, whatever. Nadia, the one I just talked about. God, these names. Yeah, Nadia, my bad. And now we have another fantastic person. And there's more. Her name is Sarah Kellen. So, she was born Sarah Lynn Kensington in 1975. She's an interior designer, primarily known for her association with Epstein. Her role was raised significantly during the controversy, as she's been described as a key participant in Epstein's trafficking. So, again, everybody's talking about these dudes. right? In order to kind of tie all that in together, and us paying attention to everybody on one side and us discounting everybody on another side. When I finish explaining Sarah Kelly, you're going to be pissed off. You're going to be real pissed off. Do you know why? Because nobody's talking about who she is. We already know Nadia's MIA. That Kayla chick, even though she's all over the place, we know exactly who she is. We know exactly what she did. Guess what she's doing? Running all over the place because we don't give a shit. This one, she's super special. So, here's her role in the operation. So Kelly began working for Epstein in the early 2000s. Initially as an assistant in his Manhattan office. She had been alleged to have similar responsibilities to Maxwell, including scheduling appointments for Epstein and coordinating victims. Some of her specific tasks involved arranging massages that included abuse, coordinating travel and logistics for the victims, welcoming victims to Epstein's property, often leading them to rooms for encounters. So you already know she's a real piece of shit. So, despite her alleged involvement, Kelly has not been criminally charged. During Ghislaine Maxwell's trial in 2021 and her sentencing in 2022, Kelly was mentioned frequently. Ghislaine was bringing her up. She was like, hey, what about Sarah? Hey, what about Sarah? Oh, Sarah was there. Are you going to ask her any questions? No. Okay, victims include Virginia Giuffre and have named Kellen in lawsuits. Even she brought it up, the same person, attributing her with facilitating and perpetrating the abuse. Kellen transitioned to an interior designer career after her time with Epstein and holds several luxury properties over $11 million combined. As of 2025, she resides in high-end properties in Miami and New York. She has largely maintained a low profile, but has denied wrongdoing through representatives. Following Epstein's death in 2019, she claimed to be a victim of his abuse and received compensation from the Epstein Victims Compensation Package. Kellen's name continues to come up in legal proceedings related to Epstein, including depositions in a civil case by the U.S. Virgin Islands against banks associated with him. Okay. Again, she's living a lavish life. Ghislaine brought her up. Virginia Giuffre brought her up. Her name is on all of these cases for facilitating, for being a part, and for being engaged in it. And she's just doing what she wants to do. Okay. As of February 2026, we're in February, Sarah Palin resides in a $6.3 million luxury home in Miami following her divorce from a NASCAR driver named Brian Vickers in 2025. As she maintained a relatively low profile while living in high-end properties. Kelly has distanced herself from her past associations, claiming to be a victim. She was named as an unindicated co-conspirator. She's a co-conspirator in the 2008 non-prosecution deal and described as criminally responsible by a federal judge during Ghislaine's sentencing in 2022. Why is she free? Why is she free? Why is her name not all over the place? These are the questions that I have. This is why I want to look this stuff up. Because sometimes when they're trying to distract you with one thing, you have to look in another place. That's the only way to learn the truth about things. I think a lot of these people that are making these claims that that she got money from the fund, a lot of the money, I forgot this some guy, don't remember his name, it wasn't part of what I was going to do today. Anyway, he had claimed, oh yeah, you know, I hooked up with Epstein, but he robbed me for $46 million. Okay. He said he stole from him. I think that every time they say he stole, he didn't steal. He blackmailed. That's how he got $46 million from your ass. What did he do? Have your account information? He was just like, boop, boop, boop. You know, you were like, oh, hey, here's my PIN number. Go take out how much you want. No. He got blackmailed for $46 million. And in order for him not to be able to go out and say that he was blackmailed, what's Jeffrey Epstein going to do? Say something? No. It's common sense to know that this guy didn't rob him. He was blackmailed. The money's missing. When it comes out, because I'm telling you it's going to come out, when it comes out, it's going to be that there's some kind of financial connection. But he's going to say it's robbery. And we know, me and you, we know he got blackmailed. Okay. Okay, Kellen's public presence remains minimal, with most information about her coming from ongoing legal discussions and revelations tied to the case. Sarah Kellen is indeed linked, because I wanted to know, okay, I'll get into that in a minute. So just remember this, JSC Interiors. So he had an entire list. Like, I thought it was just Kayla that was going to get his estate. No. He had a whole list. I think it was like, I don't know, I'll be able to count it. It was over 100 people that he chopped up the money to give to, right? So remember, Sarah Kellen said that she was a victim, right? She went and got money out of the fund. What people don't know is that her name is in the will. The reason why I found out she was in the will, even though she claims that she was a victim, is because JSC Interiors is in that, not her name, her company. And I thought it was weird, and I knew I read that she was a designer. When I went down the list of the people that he was giving money to, an interior thing came up, and I was like, there's only one other person, and boom, she's the one that owns it. Anyway, Kellen has been described in various reports as running her own interior design business, emphasizing her efforts to move beyond her past, right, and get a new identity. Yeah, of course. While former NASCAR driver Brian Vickers was her husband, he played a significant role in supporting her endeavors, although their marriage ended in 2025. Owning and managing a business like JSC Interiors suggests Kellen is attempting to reshape her public persona. Who else did that, right? Steve Bannon was doing the same thing for Epstein, right? Oh, you committed all these crimes. Let's just tell everybody that you're this awesome person and you're a philanthropist and you're going to help everybody and you're not a piece of shit. She's trying to do the same thing. I have no idea who Brian Vickers is. I didn't even bother to look it up. So if you know anything about NASCAR, keep in mind that in the documentation, when his wife, who he only divorced last year, it clearly says he played a significant role in her endeavors. And I just told you what her endeavors were. Okay? Keep that in mind. And we will move on. And oh my God, I have to tell you, my glasses, I can't see without them. The light that comes off of my glasses is horrific. And I mean, I mess with lighting in this place like nobody's business. There's not a damn thing I can do. As soon as I get 1 million followers, I'll get like this whole huge studio set up. But for right now, you're going to have to be able to see everything right off my glasses. So anyway, we're going to talk about some of the stuff that was taken from his house, because nobody's really talking about that. They're like, oh, they went in and they took some photos and some other shit. It was a lot more than that. So, hold on. Okay, sorry. Okay, so on July 6th, 2019, federal agents arrested Epstein aboard his private jet, right? Which had landed in New Jersey from Paris. So at the same time, another set of FBI agents raided his mansion in Manhattan. They took photos of everything, from a taxidermy tiger in the library to framed pictures of Epstein with Donald Trump, Pope John Paul II, Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and that's the dude that, I want to say that's the dude that was dressed at the White House not too long ago. So that's fun. The agents also seized more than 70 computers, iPads, and hard drives, as well as boxes of shredded paper and financial documents. They sawed open a metal safe and found even more hard drives, along with binders of CDs, 48 loose diamonds, and a Saudi Arabian passport with his photo. So that's really fun. Hey, listen, if you've heard of any of this, put it in the comments, because I really need to know if anybody else is covering this. Like, I'm not saying I'm the only person in the world doing it, but write in the comments if you actually think this is important. You know what I mean? I kind of do. And oh, and I left it somewhere. I've been getting, so I've been putting myself up on Substack, and I have 2 accounts on YouTube. I have Lovespiracy, which I kind of let it die out so I can concentrate on Necessary Truth Radio. So I didn't know, I found out not so long ago, that every time I upload something on Substack, they're not sending it to Necessary Truth Radio, they're sending it to Love Spiracy. So I've had a few people come in. I had it somewhere. So thank you for leaving comments. You guys are interacting. There's only like 27 people there now. But on my other account, I have like 240. So I'm going to keep running with that because I'm actually interacting with people. And if you're seeing this, you're amazing. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it. So when you hear this, try to give me a heads up. Let me know if anybody else is talking about this. Because I think it's super weird, right? Oh, and I'm not finished with the women that are involved yet. This is just the beginning. So 6 weeks later, after Epstein unalived himself in jail while awaiting trial on charges, agents raided his U.S. Virgin Islands estate, where they seized even more electronic devices and documents. On January 30th, the U.S. Department of Justice put much of that material on the internet. It created an immediate explosion in news. We already know, right? So we got Howard Lutnick, nobody cares. What's his name? Elon Musk, nobody cares. Richard Branson, all of these people, nobody cares about. I care about these people. I don't give a shit about those billionaire dudes that are running around. I could care less. We already knew they were all creepy. Then we have Catherine Rumler, and she was what was she? The top lawyer at Goldman Sachs. So she just resigned. And I really think that it's weird. Do you not think it's weird that these people are just resigning? Nobody's getting fired. Not here in the U.S. Every other place, they're breaking in your house and shit, and dragging you out and bringing you in front of the courts. Here, we're like, hey, just sign this piece of paper. You know, we'll give you some form of compensation. We'll give you, a couple $1 million. You go live your life. We hope you don't get put in jail. Good luck. Anyway, so it's really stupid. Anyway. Oh, and a financial document, which has been kept secret since Epstein's death, showed he asked his girlfriend to marry him and planned to give her $100 million, right, and all of the properties. That was something we had already covered in the other line. The records also include a number of unsubstantiated tips sent to the FBI, which include unproven allegations against Trump. Okay, we're going to cover some of that too. So, because I've really been getting into the files. Wait and see. Today's going to be a lot. So, tricks and ledgers. Okay. So there's rumors that he's part of Mossad, right? We already kind of knew that. He was like, oh, okay. I'm going to give you an example. Okay. So everybody, especially like MAGA folks, I don't want to say just that. A lot of people love Bob Hope, right? He was this huge, I want to say comedian. I don't know. He was like, I'm old, but I'm not even old enough to know Bob Hope or what he was doing. But he was part of the USO, right? So he would travel to military bases all over the world and, I don't know, tap dance? I don't know what the hell he was doing. Anyway, he would go to all these places, be allowed on bases and stuff. So he wasn't born in the U.S. He was born in England. He was knighted there. Like, he was a big deal over there. Nobody ever talked about that. I think most people didn't know that he wasn't an American citizen. The USO is not a military thing. It's an independent thing. It's not, they're like a talent agency in a way. You know what I mean? Where they like come up with these parties to go to the bases and stuff. But they're not part of the military, even though they're allowed all over the bases. All over. I think, well, yeah, I'm almost 100% sure he was pulling a spy thing. Absolutely. Because he was able to go everywhere. Top people, top places. Nobody asked any questions. He was an entertainer. Nobody can care less. I just thought I'd throw that tidbit in really quick. Okay. Anyway, so poor management of the federal judge. We already know everything that happened. Okay. So I covered that. I don't even have to read any of this because this is all stuff that we already know. Okay. Alright, So anyway, you already know that stuff. Okay. So then we have somebody else. Now, the money that he was giving away, he had a list of people. It was called the 1953 Trust Fund, right? So I know that I had discussed, because I'm going off the rails here. There's a woman now, she's part of Congress for the Virgin Islands. They tried to censure her recently, the Republicans did, by saying that she had a relationship with Epstein, right? All his islands were there. Like, they were making a lot of money from this dude there. And I guess she was either helping him in court. There was an email exchange or a text exchange while she was working on a case where she was asking him, hey, like, what do I ask? Or she was just asking for advice for some odd reason. This is long after he was convicted. And then whatever it is that he told her, she did in the courtroom. So they were like, she has something to do with it, and everybody's like, oh God, why are you saying her? It was a big old fight. Was she involved? Absolutely. Are you kidding me? How do you have a dude that big in these tiny places and you have no idea what's going on? Then we have another person who is exactly in the position that she's in. Hold on. Her name is Selena Dubin. Okay. Hold on. Because of course, okay. So the document lists 43 people who would inherit his $630 million fortune. It says he planned to marry one, right? We already know about her. I covered her. That's not new. Okay. So here's why I'm bringing that up. So it says the detail described in a document known as the 1953 Trust, in which the well-connected, whatever. All right. Anyway, he signed the document on August 8th, 2019, right? When did he die? Shit. June? Damn it. This drives me nuts. You know that, right? I have so many things sticking up here all the time. Okay, he died August 10th. Holy shit. Hold on. No, that's not right. Is it August 10th? Share human trafficker. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So a month right before that, he started the 1953 Trust. He signed everything, but he did everything individually. He named companies, but he also named people. And under the rules, the people had to be either associated with a particular company that had something to do with his running around committing crimes all day, and it went to individuals that had to be married to one another. So let's say they're like, I'm going to give Trinity $1 million, but she has to be married to so-and-so. That's the only way she's going to get the money. He was pairing his co-conspirators together in order to make sure that one couldn't snitch on the other, right? So if you're married, you don't have to say anything about your spouse at all. That was a way for them to kind of protect each other, and that was a way for him to be able to make sure he was protected even after death, right? So here's the deal with the what's her name? Okay, so she was a real piece of shit, but she was able to put in so much money and she was doing stuff behind the scenes. When they found out about her and everything that she was doing, she kind of just bounced. Like, she tried to act like she didn't know anything, but she was in the trust, and his name is Shuliak, right? Had a relationship with his ex-girlfriend, Ava Anderson Dubin, and her eldest daughter. So it says nothing in the document suggests wrongdoing by any of the listed names. We already know that that's bullshit, because we're seeing half of the files. We're not seeing all of the files. I've been going through the files, but I've been going through them backwards. So if they have millions of files, I'm not looking at millions of files. But if you go as far back, I'm starting from the bottom and then I'm working my way up, because most people won't do that. So they pretty much hide things at the end thinking, you're never going to go that far. So I go all the way to the back, and then I work my way up to the front. There was so much stuff that I found. Okay. Anyway. So it was designed as a pour-over trust, right? So, which would disperse Epstein's assets after his estate matters had been settled, which they have been. So even though he had a lot of people on this list, a lot of them haven't gotten their money back. I cannot find, and I know that there's people out there fighting for their money. I know that there are. They say it is a handful, but they're not saying who it is. They're not saying it. He's not even here. The files have been exposed, and there's still people looking for their cash out. They're looking for their money because they know that he had the will. They know he signed it. He signed it a month before he supposedly unaligned himself. So keep that into consideration. So Selena Dubin's one-time inheritance. So in January 2019's trust, the largest beneficiary stood to be Selena Dubin, the eldest daughter of Anderson Dubin, a hedge fund billionaire Glenn Dubin. Anderson Dubin, a Miss Sweden winner turned physician. Man, he's got female doctors, he's got female dentists, he's got female pilots. Yeah, because nobody's going to ask them questions. Why would a woman think that another woman would be involved in this? Our little mindset's kind of screwed up when it comes down to things like that. But it says here, the couple had 3 adult children to grow up around a man they called Uncle Jeff. That's fun. A representative for the family had previously said they were horrified by Epstein's conduct and would have cut ties instantly if they were aware. Everybody was aware. This whole amnesia thing is really stupid. So that trust would have given 2 of Epstein's flagship properties, New Mexico's Zorro Ranch, which we had already covered a couple days ago, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, his estate in the islands, which again, they keep talking about one and not the other island. Still, they're not covering it. To Selena, okay? She would have also received the trust balance after disbursement. So out of the $630 million, but once everybody kind of got paid, whatever was left over, the islands, the ranch, and everything was going to go to her, which I think is odd, because it's also said that his girlfriend was supposed to get it. So I think there's a little bit of infighting when it comes to that. So, okay, so Business Insider also reported that in 2014, Epstein named Selena Dubin as the beneficiary of one of his trusts, and she was removed in 2015. A family representative told Business Insider at the time that the family was unaware of the trust's existence. It was not the same vehicle as the 2019 trust. So at this point, he's flipping stuff around, right? This is at the same time Bannon is involved, Michael Wolff is involved, the Epstein victims compensation, like everything's just kind of getting wrapped up around all of this. But he already knows exactly who's going to get what because he needs things to be quiet. So Mr. Dubin never received any personal benefit. We know that's not true, and was unaware that she was named in the Epstein trust. Not true. In April 2020, when she found out that she was listed as a contingent beneficiary, Dr. Dubin immediately signed a renunciation and disclaimer form and submitted it to the trustees of Mr. Epstein's estate. Selena Dubin's name isn't visible in the 1953 trust, which replaced the January 2019 trust. Okay, it's a lot of stuff, and it's heavily redacted, right? We already knew that. And this is what's bothering me, that nobody's talking about the redaction. Like, you make these connects. You're not going to believe the connects that I was able to make today. Okay. Shuliak is by far the biggest beneficiary. We know that was the girlfriend from 10 years. She would have received $50 million immediately and $50 million through an annuity plus Epstein's properties, right? We already know she didn't get that money yet. Everything's still up in the air. And it could be up in the air till this whole thing blows over. But she hasn't gotten anything yet. That's confirmed. She hasn't gotten anything yet. There's this guy. His name is Darren Indike. And he was his longtime personal lawyer who was set to receive $50 million, right? And Richard Kahn. I'm going to be able to discuss them later because there's actual police reports with both of their names in it. I mean, actual 911 calls with both of them involved. And then other people involved, which we're going to cover as well, because even Epstein had made one of these calls. So all the information about who was at his house, who was doing what, these people are dialing 911 and getting police to come to his residence. And it's all written down. Like, I thought it was weird. I thought when I was going through the files backwards, there was just a whole bunch of police reports. And I'm like, why is this in the files? That makes no sense. Because none of the names sound familiar. I had to find out police codes because a lot of them were written in code. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Then I found out some of the names of these people were at his house. And there were incidents where they needed the police because there was a lot of shit going on over there all the time. Why would this dude, who's a multi-millionaire and is committing all of these crimes, make 911 calls? I have no fucking idea. Anyway, Epstein said in the document that he planned to create a separate trust for Shirley Act, which he didn't get to. But that was for operating expenses. What operating expenses, right? Trafficking. As well as another trust for a person whose name is redacted. Of course. Both trusts would also be managed by Indike and Khan. Those two people. Keep those names. I know I'm going to forget, so you remember those names for me. Indike and Khan have never acted to put their own interests above their duties as co-executors. Okay. Neither they nor any of the other 40 beneficiaries will receive any of the money from that estate unless and until all creditors and claims on the estate have been satisfied in full. We already knew that. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. I'm redacted. Okay. So, remember Celine Dijon? Sounds like Dijon mustard. Anyway, she is the former First Lady of the U.S. Virgin Islands and an old Epstein employee. What? Where's her name? Anybody talking about her? No. She was the first lady of the fucking island. And nobody's talking about her? They're not talking about any of these women. Anyway, it pisses me off. Believe me, I know you're upset there. Okay, so they're talking about the 3 million pages published, blah, blah, blah. We already know that a new dump came out. Apparently, like everything is way worse than it was before. I saw somewhere where in one of the files, they said that Janis Joplin's in one of the files. And they were like, Epstein was 17 when Janis Joplin was alive. What the hell are you talking about? So now they're just doing anything they want. They're not going to put everything out. It's just not going to happen. That's why me and you, we're going to figure stuff out. They don't have to tell us shit. I got you, you got me, we got this. All right, so I covered her. Okay. Oh, okay. And so I don't know why I do that. Oh, Cecilia Dijon. Anyway, she also in 2023 it came out in some of the files because mind you, the files have always been out there. But everybody's like, oh, well, Biden didn't and Bush. No, none of them did it. It's not like this is new. Nobody brought it up. The Democrat, Republican, nobody ever put this out there. The only reason why Trump's being called on it is because he was the only one talking about it. He was like, oh, on day one, I'm going to release the file. Who the hell was asking him that? Think about it. When Biden was in office, how many times did somebody bring up Jeffrey Epstein? When Obama, when Clinton. When was his name brought up? Every single day, running for office. No one. No one. He's the one that started the QAnon thing. He's the one that started the Pizzagate thing. He was the one that ran his mouth that we were just going to take. What was it? Going to drain the swamp. We were going to do all of this other shit. If he would have kept his mouth shut, guess who we wouldn't be talking about? Jeffrey Epstein. Why would we? He wasn't important. I mean, he is important, but nobody told us how important he was. Nobody. Ugh, people are the worst. So we already know she's a piece of shit. Okay. Okay, so this is back when, it didn't say it, but I'm going to go with it anyway, where, what's his name? Where Bannon was trying to get him to be all, he's cool, you should give him another shot. Ugh. Anyway, so this came out, I have no idea. Okay, anyway, they're talking about, we already talked about the Virgin Islands, right? And everything that's involved. Okay, so I want to say, okay, they're talking about the original 3.5 million Epstein dump. So they're saying that they found out, you know, all his stuff, blah, blah, blah. So there's somebody named Marvin Minsky, and he's the co-founder of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology AI Lab. Was one of Epstein's closest connection to the world of AI innovation. Wait until I get into that. So in 2002, Epstein gave Minsky a $100,000 research and grant and financed the St. Thomas Common Sense Symposium, which was curated by Minsky and located just miles away from Epstein's private island, Little St. James, in the U.S. Virgin Islands. One of the symposium participants was Werner Vinge. I'm going to go with that. Science fiction author and former SDSU computer science and mathematics professor. Okay, just really quick. When I hear that there was a, how you call it, when there was some kind of scientist or something like that, and then they're a science fiction writer, you know who that reminds me of? L. Ron Hubbard, right? The creator of Scientology. That's what he was. He was a writer. Oh, and if you look into it, I'm not doing a show anytime soon about that, because after this, I'm taking an extended break. He was involved with Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley. So, yeah. And that's bonkers, right? Okay, anyway. So it says here that he retired 2 years prior in 2000 after 28 years at the university and continued writing before he died in 2024. So that was not too long ago. In 1981, he did a novel called True Names, which includes an essay from Minsky. And one of his first books was a fleshed out concept of cyberspace. Vinge also wrote an essay in 1983 that popularized the idea of a technological singularity. And we're doing that now. Epstein was deeply interested in facilitating and funding the development of AI in an era before AI had any human-like capabilities. Keep that in mind, human-like capabilities. Days before the symposium, a FedEx invoice shows Vinge received a £2 package from Epstein at SDSU. The invoice also shows other conference attendees. So let's see who some of them are. San Diego State University, Department of Mathematical, doesn't say the whole thing, So Minsky and Epstein planning another conference called Future and Computing in 2011, 3 years after Epstein's first crime conviction. Minsky sent Cecile de Jong, remember her, Epstein's office manager, at least a list of 12 possible invitees. DeLong forwarded the list of candidates, including Vinge and other science fiction futurists, Harvard genetics researcher, and computer and AI pioneers. Epstein answered only Veneer Vinge, no one else. Okay, let me read this. And this is the where the hell did I get this from? Okay, anyway, this is the correspondence between the First Lady of the U.S. Virgin Islands and Epstein about having this conference. So this is dated November 14th of 2011, and it says only Veneer Vinge, no one else. That was Epstein to her. And then he says, please let me know about these other participants with warm regards. And then she writes, oh shit, of course it closed. She writes back, Dear Jeffrey, I know it is late, but here are 10 extremely smart and interesting people. Probably only 2 or 3 could come on short notice. Can we quickly discuss them briefly? I'll be at blah, 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 or blah, 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 home, Marvin. So this is who they have. Yeah. Sometimes when I do this research, I don't read everything. I kind of catch the first thing. Because I like it when I'm, finding out new things, too. So here's something fun. Here are the people that in 2011, because everything is science fiction, right? Marvin, 1, science fiction futurist. Gregory Benford, writer of something called Timescape. Veneer, okay, we already know who he wrote True Names. Bonnie McBird, the first author of Tron, so that's fun. And we have Alan Kay, the first personal computer at Xerox, Atari, and Apple. We have Tom Knight, computer graphics, hardware, and genetics. Question, is G. Church okay with him? Oh, shit. I talked about that guy a couple days ago. George Church. He owns some kind of an AI company. Anyway, the connection's there. AI pioneers in common sense, knowledge, and reasoning. Eric Muller, Watson project at IBM. We got Roger Schenck, early common sense AI theories. We have Douglas Lynette of PsyCorp in Austin, Texas, the first commonsensical AI systems. And we have Harvard genetic researchers, Erez Lieberman, Karina Tartina. And here is a prodigious young MIT, Harvard, and note-taker David Derrapom. And perhaps you know this very ingenious inventor manager, Michael Dubno. Okay. I didn't look up any of those people. I did not. I mean, I might at some point, but it ain't gonna be today. Anyway, so you already know what he was doing, right? So he was looking for a scientist, right? Okay. When you find out that Hawkins was there, right? We got Noam Chomsky there. We have Musk there. We have people from Palantir there. We have all these people there. Why are they mixing, right? And this is why I said I don't trust science for shit. Why are they mixing people, huge names? We got all Ivy League colleges. We have professors. We have everything. The smartest people, including a prodigy from MIT, a Harvard student named David Derrapom. I gotta find out who that guy is. And Michael Dubno. Oh, and it says he's currently head of research at the Bank of America. What the hell does he have to do with science? Anyway, I'm sure it has something to do with money. So why would he have Hawking and have all of these intellectuals, people in genetics and AI, and then have the original writer of Tron and Atari and IBM? I know the AI systems, I get that. I'm telling you, they were like creating some nonsense. This is so much bigger than we think. Okay, so we covered that. And this is not in order at all. Okay. So we already knew about the St. Thomas Common Sense Symposium. This is designing architecture. So anyway, it was a setup. They put all of these people in there. Okay, I actually, so this was in, okay. So I have the article here, the St. Thomas Common Sense Symposium, Designing Architectures for Human Level Intelligence. Marvin Minsky, Push Singh, Aaron Sloman, and this is an AI magazine in 2004. So that's fun. And I'm not going to go through the list right now, but I have the list of almost everyone there. Let's see really quick if there's anybody else that we might know. Okay. We got somebody from Northwest University, University of Texas at Austin, MIT, Berkeley, IBM, PsyCorp, Purdue University, Laszlo Systems, San Diego State University, Northwestern University, another one, Georgia Institute of Technology, University of Birmingham, Linda Stone, who's an independent consultant. Yeah, I don't know the names of any of these people. Put it this way, they're super nerds, and he wanted something to do with them. So I'm not going to download the PowerPoint presentation right now, but I might do it later. And then I'll come back to you on that. It's a lot. See, I'm trying not to get caught up in anything else. It's not working, but it kind of is. Okay. So, okay. I had to find out what the hell first of all, we know what human level intelligence is, right? I mean, it's in the name. But that's not even what it means. So this is a paper written by Marvin Minsky, who we just covered, Push Singh, and Aaron Solomon. And I just told you that they came from these really big Ivy League schools. So listen to this. This is actually from the paper from the summer of 2004. I told you, I'm only bringing you the good shit. I'm just going to read the first page. Oh, shit. I wish there was a way I could show you the thing. Okay, anyway. Okay, to build a machine that has common sense was once a principal goal in the field of artificial intelligence. But most researchers in recent years have retreated from the ambitious aim. Instead, each developed some special technique that could deal with some class of problem well, but does poorly at almost everything else. We are convinced, however, that no one such method will ever turn out to be best, and that instead, The powerful AI system of the future will use a diverse array of resources that, together, will deal with a great range of problems. To build a machine that's resourceful enough to have human-like common sense, like we have common sense, right? Anyway, we must develop ways to combine the advantages of multiple methods to present knowledge, multiple ways to make inferences, and multiple ways to learn. We held a 2-day symposium in St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands, to discuss such a project, to develop new architectural schemes that can bridge between different strategies and representations. This article reports on the events and ideas developed at the meeting and subsequent thoughts by the authors on how to make progress. So, even though we knew that he was building something here, there was something way worse behind all of this. Listen, when you have to put your conspiracy theory hat on, you got to put that shit on tight. And sometimes you don't just need a hat, you need a full-on hazmat suit. The stuff that he was doing there is not just what we think it is. You know what I mean? It's not. I'm not saying that they weren't abusing. I'm saying there was other things that were happening there that involved those same kids. Do I know if that video is legit? The one where there's supposedly a person on the ground and somebody using a magnifying glass on them? Am I 100%? No. You know why? Because AI is stupid. And I try not to get caught up in the bullshit. If I was to get caught up in all the stuff that everybody's talking about, I wouldn't be able to do this. I would just be regurgitating everything they're saying, and I refuse to do that. That's just not my jam. Anyway, so they're already trying to figure out how to make everything smarter. Listen, everybody's always, everything they give us now, they're already 50, 100 years in advance. What he's doing here is trying to help to continue to build on that. He's literally using some of the smartest people in the world and then adding science fiction to it, right? Now, I already told you, the last person that did that was L. Ron Hubbard. Either they're trying to build another, oh shit, okay, all right. Bear with me on this one. Okay, so let's say, we already know that they're doing this because I'm actually on the pamphlet from the symposium. Let's say they figure that out, right? Which we know they did. L. Ron Hubbard was able to make one of the most famous, crazy, ridiculous religions out there that makes more money, that's like tied with the Vatican, right? That's crazy, right? How much money they make, and they're bonkers. What if they took the information that they got from the geniuses and then they took the sci-fi shit, right? Because we have books like 1984. What if they've been using that? What if they've been using that to establish MAGA, to make MAGA, right? The people who wear the garbage bags, the people who put a Kotex pad on their ears, the people that call him Jesus, the people that cry when they see him like he's Michael Jackson. Like, what if they figured out, and that's always been a thing, religion's a thing, so yeah. But what if they created MAGA? They knew exactly what to do. They took all the information they got from the early 2000s. They slowly started implementing it. They took a bonkers dude who's completely narcissistic and one of the worst people on the planet. They helped him to become president. They tell him these are your keywords, right? Because he learned everything from Roy Cohn, who's a horrible fucking person. So you get all of these things together, and then they say, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is why. This is why Epstein was at the White House. This is why everybody that's in those files have actually been connected with Trump, right? Which, you know, that's the only thing that makes sense. Oh, sorry. That's the only thing that makes sense. They literally created MAGA. You better tell me if I'm going crazy or not. I don't know why the hell that just made complete sense to me. Okay, now they're talking about children, of course. This is in the symposium. So it says, returning to Block's world. Later that first morning, Push Singh presented a possible target domain for a common sense architecture project, considering the situation of two children playing together with blocks. Even in this simple situation, the children may have concerns that span many mental realms. Wording in these things is amazing because they all have an esoteric meaning, all of it. Okay, so I'm going to read it the way it's wrote. So it says bodily, and I'm assuming that's the kids. Can I reach that green block from here? Social. Should I help him with this tower or knock it down? Psychological. I forgot where I left the blue block. Visual. Is the blue block hidden behind the stack? Spatial. Can I arrange those blocks into the shape of a table? Tactical. What would it feel like to grab 5 blocks at once? Self-reflective. I'm getting bored with this. What else is there to do here? Those are all that kind of mindset, especially having an entire symposium for this kind of bullshit. Having all of those things being dissected, that's how you come up with cults. That's exactly how you do it. That's exactly how you do it. You picture every single thing somebody can think of, and you have an answer for it, right? Everything. It's the same way that you have a relationship with a parent and a kid, Sometimes your kid will ask a question, you have no idea what the hell the answer is, so you make some shit up. They understood that with children, that's where it starts. They understood they're the most innocent ones. They're the only ones, that are not gonna, they don't have that good and bad mindset yet. You know what I mean? I did that video not too long ago about that documentary called Human Resources, and baby Albert, where they were doing experiments with him. So they took this baby. I'm just gonna go real fast in case you don't know. So they took this baby from when it was a newborn, and they started doing little experiments on it. So I'm talking about the baby newborn. So the guy would take like a little stick like this, right? And babies' hands automatically grasp. So the nurse would pick the baby up, and the baby's waddling around, and he will put this in the baby's hand. The baby will grab it just like that, tight. You ever had a baby pull your hair? That shit hurts. So he grabs it. So as soon as the baby does that, she lets go of the baby. He lifts the baby up like this, and then he drops it. And the baby, she catches the baby, but the baby's just jolted and terrified. He teaches the baby to be scared. He does the same thing with a rabbit. He puts the rabbit in front of the baby, and the baby doesn't give a shit. He's like, oh, cool, something's hopping around. Then he starts making noises every time the rabbit gets there, and he scares the baby. Now the baby screams every time he sees the rabbit. You can watch it. It's horrifying. It's horrifying what we've been doing. And this is why I'm saying I think that this whole island bullshit, everything that's happening right now is way bigger. Way bigger. Why everybody's involved? Content creators, mainstream news, everybody that we think that the Democrats are going to help us. Nobody's doing shit because they're not telling you that this was the plan all along. Every time they tell you to look in this direction, you have to look in the other direction. The women aren't being discussed. The symposiums aren't being discussed. Who gives a shit? Stephen Hawking was there. Okay. I forgot somebody said, hey, what would Stephen Hawking be doing there? And I can't remember. It was a comedian who was like, everybody needs love. You know what I mean? You can look stuff up. There's women who take financial compensation for people that have debilitating disabilities, and they have relationships, you know what I mean, or they have fun with them, you know what I mean. And I think it was a documentary I saw, and the women were like, dude, they're the sweetest people. They're nice, just because they're not like everybody else doesn't mean they don't want to be touched, or they don't want to be loved, or they don't want to be hugged. We just kind of completely dismiss that. And that's not fair. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just not fair. Okay, I'm gonna put this back down. Okay. Anyway, so that's part of the, and I have a picture, of course, of 2 children. So establishing a collection of graded mini scenarios. Anyway, you already know what, okay, so they're just saying that they're going to keep coming up with different things in order to test. But they're doing it mostly on children because they know that they're going to be the most susceptible. But I think that due to this being in 2004, and they understood the, I don't want to say, okay, let's just say gullibility, right, of children, right? Okay, here it says, Aaron Solomon argued that it might be better to try a model in the mind of a 4 or 5-year-old human child, because that might lead more directly towards more substantial adult abilities. I love reading with you guys. Okay, that was kick-ass. Here's why. I just said, what if they created MAGA, right? Here they're saying that they're taking the mindset of children, right? And then they're trying to figure out how to do that with adults, right? Because we're the most complicated. We already got the ego, we already got the bullshit, we already got the mental issues, we already got all of that, right? They need fresh blood. And that's the worst way to say it, but those are facts. They were doing these mini scenarios with kids just to figure out how to control adults. MAGA, I know you're not listening to my stuff, but if you are, please look up the summer of 2004 symposium, because it kind of might help to explain what's going on with y'all. Because people that are not MAGA can't figure it out. Like, I can't figure it out. There's something way just beyond either you being mean or you being racist or you being dumb. There's something else behind that. You know what I mean? Like, we can't just walk around and just make an assumption that half of the country just decided to just be horrible people or follow a horrible person and then back him up on everything. Grabbing women by the pussy, putting his tongue in their mouths. Now he's accused of abusing children. He's blowing up boats and killing people. He's making billions, and they're just like, oh, is Trump being Trump? What the fuck is that? What is that? Where does that come from? I think it comes from here. I think this makes sense. This makes sense. This absolutely makes sense. I want to keep reading this. Oh. Okay. If I turn the camera around, you're going to see my 80 tabs. Okay. So I'm going to do this really quick. I hope you can just imagine it. So, okay. So they're showing like robotic. I'm going to put that in the little list or whatever. Anyway. So they're showing reasoning in multiple mental realms to solve a problem in the modern world. This explains MAGA. Okay. And then they're showing like and it looks like a crash test dummy. It doesn't look like, it's supposed to represent children though. And then it's like, I see you trying to build a tower. And then it says recognizing the purpose behind the actions of the other agent. It involves some spatial, physical, visual, and psychological reasoning. And then, okay, I kind of already explained that they're just doing it different. But it says common sense and knowledge about space, time, physics, bodies, social interactions, object appearances, and so forth. This is why I don't trust science. I don't care what anybody says. I do not care. I don't trust science. Science is full of shit. Absolutely full of shit. So they talk about sensors, effectors, self-reflection, reactive, right? That's everything that's the roller coaster ride that MAGA started at. You know? The whole drain the swamp thing. Like when you go into the reptilian brain like that and you start telling people that they're not going to live anymore, or somebody's going to take all of their things, and that I did a whole thing. Go to my shows. I did a whole thing about the reptilian brain. It's the oldest part of our brain. It's like somewhere like right back here. It's the oldest part of our brain, right? And it covers it awakens, like, considering everything else in the brain is fairly new, right? How am I explaining that? I'm explaining it dumb, but I think you get it. Anyway, So that everything else is like just new based on our environment, right? But this one part is super, super old, and it controls sex, it controls anger, it controls jealousy, it controls ego, it controls fight or flight. It does all of that. So every party that you know deep down inside is horrifying or terrifying, and I don't care who it is, you know you have that part. Everybody else, I'm going to put this down because I can see that my glasses look so bad. I don't know how to fix that. Anyway, so when you take that into consideration, right, and then somebody awakens that in you, right, when you were younger and you found somebody that you liked, right, let's say you had a crush on somebody. Can you figure out when you started growing up where jealousy came from? When you began being jealous? You know what I mean? I'm an extremely jealous. Listen, I have no problem saying I am extremely possessive. I just don't care. That's just my jam. And if you're in a relationship, I let you know right off the bat. I have no problem with that. I don't live in this world that doesn't exist. I will tell you. If we're together, you know, you belong to me now, so you gotta work that shit out. You know, my husband clearly understood that before he died. You know, he knew that don't even attempt to stray because that's not gonna work out in your benefit. But I can't really pinpoint when I started getting jealous. I know it was like when I was younger, but I can't remember where I was just like, I turned that on. And, you know, the thought of somebody choosing somebody other than me became a problem. I think that that's what jealousy is. It's not something petty. It's like it is the ego thing. You know what I mean? It is an ego thing. Where you're just like, you know, why wasn't I enough? Or, you know, it just, oh, by the way, those thoughts I just brought up, including my jealousy, that's part of the reptilian brain. That's exactly what's part of the reptilian brain. It makes sure that it takes you back to a point in time where you become absolutely possessive. And I think that that's what happened with MAGA. They completely started thinking, because they were told, mine is real, dude. It's real. There's something called, I hope I'm saying it right. There's something called the 100th monkey. So it's not really about monkeys. Anyway, there was a scientist who was trying to say, so this is how he explained it. So he said there's an island, right, that has a bunch of monkeys. And then one monkey goes and he takes like a coconut off of a tree. He takes it to the ocean and then he washes it. And then, you know, all the other monkeys are like, holy shit, you know, we've been eating that shit dirty. Let's go do what that guy's doing. So all the monkeys started doing it. Then there's another island all the way on the other side. It also has monkeys. There's no way for those monkeys to interact. None. There's not a boat. There's not a bridge. They're not using sign language or smoke signals. But all of a sudden, the monkeys on the other island are doing the exact same thing. They're saying that over a long period of time, or due to our we have a tribal instincts, that there's a way for us to connect in that way. I don't know how to explain it. I want to say, because I know it's you and you guys aren't going to think I'm crazy, it's like a telepathic thing, you know what I mean? Like when you say that you met your soulmate, or you met your best friend, you know? Or let's say you have like a really special relationship with a pet. And you can look at, especially cats. Jeez, I love cats. I'm going to get a cat in a few weeks, so get prepared for that. I know that thing's going to be all over the place. But you ever looked at your cat or looked at your dog and they're just looking at you? I don't give a shit if it's a turtle. You can look at your fish in a tank and it could look at you and you know it's looking at you. I don't give a shit what everybody says. So it looks at you and you can be like, why are you yelling at me? I know it's not just me, especially with cats. They're very expressive. Even though they don't look that much, you could tell. Like, I've had conversations with my cats where I'm just like, I mean, do you want to fight? Because you look like you want to beat me up right now, you know? So I think that that's the connection that we have a tendency of having with each other. So that's not too far-fetched, even though it sounded that way. It's okay. It's just us. You guys don't think I'm crazy, I don't think. It's okay. Anyway, I'm not going to cover the rest of this because it's long. Well, it's not long, but it's a lot of science. And it's definitely explaining how they figured out how to make a cult by putting a geneticist, a super smart scientist, and a dude who wrote the book Tron. If I went to a movie studio and I tried to do that, it's like a rabbi, a priest, and something walk into a bar. That's what that shit sounds like. Exactly what I just said. That's what it sounds like. You get the three of the weirdest people, and then you put them in. You put them in a room. You close the door and say, "Hey, figure shit out. Come back out." But you guys got to figure out. We got to be able to work this stuff out. Yo, that's smart. That's super smart. There's no way to actually tell MAGA, right? I don't think so. I don't think they're going to listen to that. Not at all. So we're going to go back into human intelligence. Well, obviously you know what that means, but I'm talking about in the AI sense, the way that the symposium was kind of discussing it. So human intelligence is the intellectual capabilities of humans. We already know. But we've been teaching AI this whole time. I did a video a couple of weeks ago where I was explaining how old AI is and how we had a handheld AI computer in the 80s that a lot of people don't talk about. There's a newer version of it now. Like you can get on eBay and it's like $50. But a lot of techies, they're like, this shit still works, like really good. But it's pretty much AI. So what I'm going with is that everything that they were planning, everything that they were trying to gather, if we were to take the fact that Epstein definitely was involved with all of these countries, which we already know that he was. We already know that, right? If he was to take all of these people, take all of the information, and then hop country to country, selling that information, right? It's like Operation Paperclip. We went into Germany, we took the smartest Nazis, we gave them American names, we gave them a house, and we gave them a job. Nobody knew who the hell they were. But we rolled with it because we needed the information they had. What if that's a big part of what they were doing? I believe this, that what they were doing was so big, they're willing to cover it up. They would rather you think that this level of abuse was happening so that you don't know that this has happened. Not saying it didn't happen. Absolutely it happened. Because you're still going to get millionaires, billionaires, and there's still going to be creeps. Not all millionaires and billionaires probably are, but how the hell am I supposed to fucking know? I don't know any. And based on history, they're not the greatest people. So, okay. Here it says the vision of human level machine intelligence laid out by Alan Turing in the 1950s. So yes, everything's been bumping up. What if this whole thing, the island hopping, the working undercover agent for everyone, the procurement of children, symposiums like this, taking the smartest. Do you think the files are only talking about the ones that they want us to know about? Here in the U.S., we happen to think that we're the smartest ones in the world. Like, we're born and raised that way. We're born and raised that way, the way they probably think about it, the way they think about that shit in North Korea, right? They think that the ruler of the place is actual God. They're born, they're raised that way. We're born here with, yay, go USA, and this whole bullshit, right? And then we take that, and then we don't think about the rest of the world. Do you honestly think that they only took MIT guys? You think they don't have same group all over the world, the same types of groups? and then having the same conversation, then I having the same Zoom meetings and the G7 summits and all this other shit? Absolutely. Absolutely. They really, I'm telling you, they used this and they created MAGA. This makes so much sense. This makes so much sense. And of course, I'm not writing any of this down. And you know me, I have to. Oh shit. You know, I have to, because this is good and this is long and I don't want to, I have to put it in the thing. Oh shit. Yeah, there's something else I'm going to cover with you guys in a little bit too. Some of the files that I went through. Okay. MAGA creation from Virgin Island Symposium. Okay. Done. I'm just knocking down everything. Okay. Okay, so we covered that. That was super important, but we covered that. Okay. We already covered her. The chick from, what is that called? The Virgin Island, the first lady of the Virgin Island. She was the wife of one of the big dudes at JP Morgan Chase. So that's fun. Kind of forgot about that. Why do I have that open twice? Ugh. No, okay. No. You're gonna love that one. You're gonna love that one. Okay. So remember how everybody's saying something about somebody named MJ? Okay. Of course, the first thing everybody's thinking is Michael Jackson. Big debate on the picture with Michael Jackson. We already saw the one with him, Epstein, and Diana Ross. And then they blocked out the kids' faces. They redacted the kids' faces. And then Diana Ross's son was like, what the hell are you people doing? That's me, my sister, and that's one of Michael Jackson's kids. I don't know if it was the boy or the girl. And they were like, why would you do that? Then there's another photo of Michael Jackson and Epstein standing in front of a painting or whatever. So, the story goes that Michael Jackson was like in the area trying to buy a house, and he went to go see a house, and this dude asked for a photo. Like, who the hell wouldn't ask for a photo with Michael Jackson? Right? So, that's where that comes from. So, FJ keeps coming up. So, when I tried to find out, was MJ Michael Jackson? Nothing came up. Then I was like, well, what does MJ mean, period, in any part of the files? It says here that MJ refers to, I don't know if this person's alright, because you can find out. So I'm not saying anything you can't find out. Anyway, so it refers to MJ Menendez, who was a plaintiff in a lawsuit against Epstein and Sarah Kellen. Remember Sarah Kellen? Menendez is one of the several individuals who come forward with allegations again with misconduct against Epstein, but also Sarah Kellen. Remember, everybody I mentioned, Sarah Kellen, the only one, the Virgin Islands lady's the only one that doesn't seem to have like a touchy-feely kind of relationship with a lot of these survivors. But everybody else I mentioned did. Oh, and the pilot. I don't think she did. No, she did. Shit, she did. Damn. Anyway, and then we already know who Sarah Kellen is. Okay, blah, blah. So it says the public impact. So the lawsuits, including those from NJ, play a crucial role in bringing attention to the systematic nature of his misconduct and individuals who may have enabled it. And I already told you about most of the people that already have, especially the women in this one. So that's who MJ is. So if everybody keeps just saying Michael Jackson, it's MJ Menendez, somebody who had already come forward. Yeah. So. Okay. So we already know the trust beneficiaries of the money, right? So we already know of Karen Shiliak. We already know of Darren Indyke. Now, Darren Indyke, He was the personal lawyer. He is part of the trustees. He claims that he was dealing with a ton of money, referencing his trips, airplane trips, money he was paying for the islands, money he was laundering through the banks. This dude is in everything, including Zorro Ranch and Little St. James and Great St. James. Almost everything this guy was involved with since the early 2000s. So he's definitely somebody that we kind of got to keep an eye on. Then we have Ghislaine Maxwell. And then Mark Epstein, his brother. Okay. I'm going to go a little bit through the list because there's not a lot of people. And we are going to cover the police records because that was something that I found that I thought was absolutely bonkers. Okay. Then we have David Benham. So you already know about Howard Lutnick, right? He's the one that was like, oh, I went into the house one time and there was like a massage table. He made it sound like it was in his fucking kitchen. And he was like, and I was like, hey, you must get a lot of massages. And then Epstein agreed, right? And I already covered this a little bit, but just in case you didn't see the other one. And he's like, oh, he creeped me out. Me and my wife were like, oh, we're never coming back here. He said, that when he asked about the massages, right? Epstein came in and said, what did he say? The best kind, right? And it was like, isn't that weird? Somebody would say that to somebody. It's not weird. It's not weird at all. A creep could spot another creep. You know what I mean? Like, you could spot, let me tell you, when you have that kind of just depravity, you could spot. He said that to that dude when they met because he could see in his face. I can guarantee you, that dude walking there, he saw these massage tables. He saw these weird pictures all over the place. And his eyes must have lit up like a fucking Christmas tree. He must look like he was in a candy store. And who picks him on that? People like Epstein. That's his job, is to pick people up like that. To spot these people, to find his mark. And he did. I can guarantee you, he was only told that because that guy gave him that little wink kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like, you know, oh, that's some awesome stuff, you know? I would kind of stick around, you know, if my wife wasn't here. So what happens? Years later, he winds up going back over there. He brings his fucking kids. Not only does he bring his kids, in the email he sent about going to meet him, he tells Epstein the ages of his kids. Is there a roller coaster somewhere, and you know there's an age requirement? Like, what would be the purpose of somebody doing that? This is how creepy these people are. He's still grinning and smiling at the White House. Okay, let's keep going. No, my throat hasn't gotten that bad yet, but okay. Now we're going to talk about David Benham. Not too long, because I could just pretty much say he's a piece of shit. You guys already know what that means. But his name is everywhere. And then they're just talking about, like, other people. We already know Stephen Hawking. We already know Andrew Mountbatten, which is pretty much Prince Andrew. That's his name now, which just sucks. But it says his name was mentioned 173 times. Sarah Ferguson. I think her and Andrew were married. All right, seems like she might have been a creep. Okay, real quick. I think we're not hearing about women's names because we really can't put women in that kind of position, right? Women are bonkers too. How many cases have there been, like, private and also like out in the open, where women teachers and stuff like that are like screwing 12-year-olds? What's that lady's Laterno? Who wound up getting pregnant and left her husband for like a 14-year-old, and she went to jail. She came out and they got married. Like, women are predators too. Like, don't get that twisted. I really think that the more these files come out, if you're not seeing more women's names, considering I found all of these, and no, I didn't just go like, oh, are they women? And then just go look at anybody else. No, because nobody's talking about them. Let's still talking about Pan Bobby. Come on, that shit was hilarious. It's like the town was 50,000. Jesus Christ. This is a straight up circus. This is a straight up circus. All right, what else we got? Okay, I'm not going to cover that because that's part of the police records. Let's see how far more I got to go. Okay, this is more information about Haley Robson. She was the pilot who he went and used to call his Yugoslavian sex slave, and took her and brought her into the fold and when she was 15 years old. And then she became a pilot, and then she became a perpetrator who's actually in the files, and she's the one that's missing. So, okay, so it says here, wait, I'm wrong. Nope, my bad. That's not who I was talking about. I don't have a Haley Robson here. Why do I have a Haley Robson here? I'm telling you, she's somewhere. I don't know why I have her here. Okay, how about this? I think I know where I got her name from. So this is where we're going to go. We're going to go to the actual files. Okay? I'm in the files now. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to start where I started. Where I couldn't figure out. And remember, I went backwards. I don't even know what page I'm on. I couldn't even tell you where I'm at. All I know is I went back as far as I could, and then I went to the very last thing I could find. And to be honest, I have zero idea. It doesn't say anything on here. And I don't want to click it. And then I lose it. Anyway, so, okay. So this is a police report from 11/28/04, right? So somebody called the cops, and it says here it was a suspicious vehicle, and then it says vehicle in his driveway, unsure what type of vehicle, and then he did not see anyone inside the vehicle. He will be going back to his house from the police station. He drives black Suburban, leaving now. Vehicle is in the company he was expecting. Now, none of that shit makes sense, right? But it kind of does. So the number that just kept coming up was 385 Drive, El Brillo. And I was like, what? And Palm Beach. What the fuck is that? Because it comes up over and over and over and over again. That is Jeffrey's mansion in Florida, right? And I'm like, who's calling the cops constantly? So remember, that was 11/28/2004. Then here's another one, and this was 7/25/05. What did I say the other one was? 04. Okay, and this one's from 05. Now this one has almost nothing in it. All it says is, and the person's name is here, but something OL, and I think that means a license number. I tried to find out what OL and the number sign means, and one of these police reports, and I'm just gonna assume that it's older. It was something they used to use because I can't find it, or it tells me a bunch of other stuff, but the only thing I could find with that was something about an out-of-state license. But for some odd reason here, it's redacted, and I don't know what the hell that's about. So anyway, here's another police report. All it says is it's a white female. Her name is Dana Burns. It has a date of birth and all that. I'm not sure if I should have said that. Well, it's too fucking late now. Okay, we're going to go to the next one. Okay, so this is another one, 2205. And again, this is 385 Drive. So it says the caller's name is David Benham. And it says here, the agency is the police department. And it says the disposition is human error, right? So when I read that, the first thing I thought was, a human error. Okay, so again, this is Epstein's house. The call type was alarm, burglar, intrusion. Right, so somebody set off an alarm. Somebody set off an alarm, and the police were called. So it's saying the caller's name was David Bennett, but we don't know if he's the one that called or the cops went there because the alarm had got set off, because it says human error. So it's either he set off the alarm or he just told them to go away when they went over there and said, oh man, I tripped the shit myself, my bad, you guys can leave. And they did. Okay. And we got the next one. Same address. Doesn't have any information on it. It brings up 2705. And I don't know what a CAD file check is. What is that? I don't know what a CAD file check is. Mind you, considering they're like, oh, we don't know what's going on with this guy. We can't figure anything out. And then you're like, what? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, that's why. Yeah, I don't know what that means. Hold on. I'm telling you, when you have to look for stuff, the kind of nonsense you gotta go through is crazy. This is why I try to do this when I'm not here. And then I'm just like, shit. Hold on. Because I'm telling you, put police report. If I can't find it, that can't be it. Okay, there it is. Okay, so it says here, CAD report, and this is from Legal Clarity. And it says individuals seeking a CAD report typically initiate a public records request with the relevant emergency services like local police or sheriffs. Requests require details like incident, date, time, location, and any known case numbers. And it keeps telling me something about Texas because that's what my VPN has to be telling my computer is where I'm at. So anyway. And again, 385 Drive. And then we have another call. So the caller's name is, it doesn't say. Oh, it says a language barrier. So whoever whatever reason they went over there for, the person didn't speak English or maybe acted like they didn't speak English. But it said that there was a call because of an open door. And then it says, it only tells you who the dispatcher that took the call, and that's pretty much it. So cops are constantly at this house, like constantly. Then we have again another incident with the alarm going off, and the same person. No, I'm sorry, it was Dave Benham before, and now it's somebody named Steve Benham. Don't know the relation. And then it says called alarm company. They spoke to report, and they're not responding. The audio came from the master bedroom, and then it says 655/7626/Epstein. What that means, I don't know. Listen, if you know a police officer or you know somebody who would be able to decipher this, please let me know. Because I don't know if they're saying if Epstein was there or not. Again, but there's another call. This was 8405. Again, Benham Steve. Another thing for alarm intrusion. And then it says blah, blah, blah. Again, and this is 8405. Is that the same thing? This is Steve. I'm going to look at the time because I don't understand why there's two. There is two. There's two separate reports of the same day. There's two. Why? Okay, because one says call the alarm. Okay, either they changed it twice. Okay, this is what I'm just going to make the assumption on. One of them has Epstein's name in it, and then the other one looks like it was redone, but doesn't have any of the detail the last one did. So I'm just going to go with the assumption that they just took out the original file and changed it. And then we have another one that's closed off. It says type of person is a suspect. It doesn't tell you what the suspect is doing. Their OL number, again, I can't find a lot, but it says Jose Torres. And it says valid driver's license, Palms. I'm assuming it's Palm Beach. So I don't know who the hell that is. Now I got another call. Now it's Joseph Torres. Shit, didn't look for Joseph Torres. Okay, so his name, okay, let me see if it, okay, the date is 9/9/05. Okay, so for some odd reason, like I said, I don't know, shit. I don't know why. Oh, shit, okay. Okay, I don't think they meant to put all of this stuff together. Like, it looks like the same incidents were happening on the same days. They put the actual one, and then when they put it out in record, they changed it. Because there shouldn't be like 8 freaking calls and 8 different reports about the same person and kind of the same thing. Oh my God, don't start. Okay. So then we got Jose Torres, right? Now, mind you, it only says that all numbers blocked out. Then it just says valid driver's license, clear palms. That's all it says. And then it just says the type of person is a suspect. It doesn't say what kind of suspect. But then the same day, now they have his name, but it's not spelled the same way. It's not Jose, now it's Joseph with an F, Josef. And it says an accidental hit and run. And it says negligent injury for another. Vehicle was parked outside, 10:20, vehicle was unoccupied. And then there's another report, same thing. Same guy, same address. All of these instances are happening at Epstein's house in Florida. So they've been going to his house constantly. So it says again, accident, hit and run. This is the call taker, blah, blah, blah. They have a phone number. But they're changing the way that they're writing his name. Even though the same incidents and happening on the same day. And then we got David Benham again. And this one's alarm burglary intrusion. This time it says design front of El Brillo, that's the front of his house. 2 of 3 was 10:12 with the caretaker. Guyano, everything is good. The alarm is reset. The re-entry door. There was a female on premises named Luella. And Epstein was there. Yep. And we have another one, language barrier. We don't know who it is. Again, it's another open door incident. It says the 1033 was issued. Cleared interior. Everything appears okay. House should be 107. I tried looking that up. I couldn't find it. And there is an open door to the guest. Caretaker is leaving from the police station and will meet the officer at the house. And then it says BM. He is the caretaker. Check who made this phone call. Caller, Jeffrey Epstein. This was 8/21/02. So it says here, of course, they went to 385 Drive, El Brillo. And it says the intersection is between Travers and a dead end. You want to know what he called for? A sick person and first aid. Somebody needed severe first aid at his house on 8/21/02. Doesn't have a lot of information, but I'll tell you what, Jeffrey Epstein made that call. Like a dude in that kind of nonsensical bullshit. He's the one making calls to 911. Okay, now I remember Haley Robson. So, okay. All right. An interview was concluded and Robson was taken home. A tape recorder was placed within the vehicle to record any conversations made within the vehicle. During the drive back to her home, Robson made the comment, quote, "I'm like a Heidi Fleiss," which is a Hollywood madam who sent girls to clients for sexual favors in California. Robson was dropped off at her house without incident. On November 7th, 2005, I made contact with blank at her home. Now, why they said her name and then they redacted her name makes zero sense. Again, this is where the problems, where some of the people's names should have been redacted and they weren't. So it says, during a sworn tape statement, blah, 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 stated she met Jeffrey Epstein through Haley Robson, right? Robson would approach females who wished to work with him. Blank stated she was offered to work for him but declined. Blank explained that work means giving massages. She was asked about any formal training in providing massages, which she said no. Blank said she accompanied Robson and other females who take into Epstein's house to provide massages, further stating she had been to the house approximately 4 or 5 times in the past year. Each time any girl was taken to Epstein's house, they were previously told they would have to provide a massage, possibly naked. It was also told that should Epstein require them to do anything extra, and they were not comfortable with the request, just to tell him and he would stop. Blank stated Robinson received $200 for each girl she brought over to massage Jeffrey Epstein. When I asked which girl appeared to be the youngest, she replied, the victim, Blank, stated she looked really young, 15 years old at the most. Blank further stated she did not know the victim personally. Blank stated she only went to the house to accompany Robson. Okay. What I'm reading is not anything. That's not important. This is the actual probable cause affidavit for the Palm Beach Police Department. This is actual things that the detectives have wrote down. This is their paperwork. Okay. As Robson, knowing the age of the victim, solicited the victim to commit a lewd and lascivious act, and based on the above facts, I have sufficient probable cause to arrest Haley Robinson for lewd and lascivious acts to a victim under the age of 16. All right. This is dated, the foregoing instrument sworn to and affirmed 20th of December 2005 by Detective McCrary, okay, State of Florida, County of Palm Beach. Okay. Remember, this is 9/20/2005. Here's a little bit more from the police report. And now, mind you, I'm going backwards because I don't want to go the other way. So it's like going to the end of the movie and then working your way up to the front. So keep her name. Remember her name. She was told when she had to provide a massage, she would make $200. Robson thought about the offer and agreed to meet with Jeffrey. Now, this is her beginning part. Molly, unknown last name, and Tony, unknown last name, picked her up and was taken to Epstein's house. Upon her arrival to the house, she was introduced to Epstein in the kitchen of the house. She was introduced to a white female known to her as Sarah. We know who Sarah Kellen is. She is the person that has a $6.3 million house and who owns an interior design company. That's also in the 1953 trust of Jeffrey Epstein. And this is in 2005. And she just divorced a NASCAR driver last year. She was led upstairs to the main room known to her as Jeff Epstein's bedroom. Sarah arranged the massage table and covered the table with a sheet. She brought out the massage oils and laid them next to the massage bed. I'm not going to get into detail, blah, 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 blah. Some touching happened, blah, blah, blah. And it says, Robson stated she once tried to bring a 23-year-old female, and Epstein stated that the female was too old. Robson was asked how many girls did she bring in total to Epstein. Robson stated 6 that she could remember. Robson stated she was bought, and then is blank, JS, by L, blank, and the victim in this case. I asked Robson, which was the youngest. Robson advised the victim was the youngest. Robson stated every girl she bought knew what to expect when they arrived. They were told that they would provide a massage, possibly undressed, and allowing some petting. I asked her if the victim was aware. She stated every girl she bought knew what to expect. She explained she knew the victim wanted to make money. She approached the victim and explained about going to work for Jeff. The victim agreed and arrangements were made to bring the victim to Epstein's house on the weekend. Robson stated that she and blank, later identified as blank, picked up the victim at the victim's house. Now, again, it's saying Robson stated that she and somebody else. Now, that person's name shouldn't be redacted at all. Because it says later identified, and that person and Robson picked up the victim at the victim's house. So, who? You know what I mean? Like, get it together, y'all. I mean, this is Sarah's name. they said Haley Robinson's name. So, anyway. Okay, they traveled to Epstein's house and entered through the kitchen door. They met the house, they met the chef, and Sarah, the assistant. The victim was introduced. All right, we already know that. Robson stated she was paid $200 for bringing the victim to Epstein. Robson stated the victim told her she was paid $300 for the massage. She continued that when Epstein announced to his assistant that he was traveling to Palm Beach, Sarah would contact Robson to arrange girls for Epstein. Sarah later identified as Sarah Keller, date of birth 5/25/1979. I don't give a shit about her. Had told Robson that Jeff likes to have fun with the girls. Okay, this is more about how they met and stuff like that, and her curing other people. So this is one little part. So it's talking about the $100, how they met in the kitchen, blah, blah, blah. So it says, during the course of the investigation, parental consent was granted for the victim to assist with the investigation. At our direction, the victim conducted controlled tape phone calls to Robson's cellular phone, and the numbers here. The victim spoke with Robson in an attempt to arrange another meeting with Epstein. The victim asked Robson, what does she need to do to make more money? Robson stated, quote, the more you do, the more you get paid. Supervisor Tony Higgins of the Sanitation Bureau of the town of Palm Beach was notified, and trash was collected at the residence. It revealed telephone messages for Epstein, which stated Haley and the victim's name at 11 a.m. This was the time frame Robson had informed the victim to be ready to go to work at Epstein's house. This arrangement was tape recorded from the victim's voicemail. It should be noted that during the tape interview with the victim, the description of the interior of the house was given. I personally have been in the house for a previous investigation at the El Brillo house, and Epstein was the victim, in which Epstein was the victim, and found the victim's description of the house to be accurate. During the course of the investigation, Haley Robson was contacted at her home in Royal Palm Beach. Robson agreed to come to the station voluntarily to answer questions pertaining to Epstein. During the tape sworn interview, Robson was asked how she became in contact with Epstein. Robson stated back when she was 17 years of age, she was approached by a friend named Molly in the Canopy Beach Resort in Rivera Beach. Robson was asked if she wanted to make money. Could Molly be MJ? I don't know. Okay, like I said, I'm going backwards, so I don't have to go through the story because I just pretty much went through it. Okay, now it just says planes. Okay, like I said, CAD calls. What did I say CAD was? Shit, I can't remember. Anyway, okay, so we got that, and that's from the actual files. We already know all the people that were on the flights, because this is the primary query history of the flights. So I'm sure you could just find that anywhere. There's a lot of them, but it's a jet. Of course, there's a lot of them. And we already know that the people that are pretty much involved in that way. What I'm saying is that's pretty much easy to find. Okay, so this is something I thought was kind of important because they're stupid. So the redactions they're stupid. So here's something from, some of it is cut off. 7/31/2019 for Jeffrey Epstein, and then it says text HTML, and then it has the date 7/23/2019 at 7:35 a.m. It says please process thanks, and then it has the name redacted, and the end of the telephone number, it has the fucking address. Guess where it's at? Supervisory Staff Attorney for the CLC New York Metropolitan Correctional Center, 150 Park Row in New York. Now, why would all of that information be there? The area code, the first 3 digits of the phone number, and then you redact the rest of it but leave the fax number there. Okay. This is what's going to get interesting. I mean, some more interesting. Then we have another message that was sent back. Okay, I don't know why this is backwards. This time I'm not doing it backwards. So, but anyway, it says this is 7/22/2019, and it says blank coming on as a paralegal in Mr. Epstein's case. Her application is attached. Please call me if you have any questions or concerns. Right? And then it says Esquire. The name's taken out, but it says Esquire, 810 7th Street, Suite 620. And I know I found out who that is. Okay. Anyway, it's a law firm. Obviously, because it said a paralegal. But the name changed from back then. So, anyway, let's go back to the files. Okay. I don't know if you heard this, but there's this whole thing about somewhere it was found that somebody had talked about his, unaliving the day before, and they found that in the files. So when you go through the files, right, like I have here, remember, keep in mind that he died August 10th of 2019. This back and forth, this little correspondence is 10th, hold on. Wait. Okay. He died August 10th. And here is a letter from August 13th. So this is the next day. And it's from Hugh Hurwitz to Raymond Orman. There's a redaction after that. I don't know for what. And then it says a draft language. And then it has like a little blank for some reason. And then it says, as discussed, several options are below. Please note that we should discuss timing of all of this. I need to ensure staff are notified first. And I should let my executive staff know so they are not taken off guard, as they will no doubt get a lot of questions from their staff and other wardens. Also note that the warden just called Ray and told him the U.S. attorney is meeting with him at 10 o'clock a.m. tomorrow. So this probably should be sometime after the interview. And then it says sent by Hugh on a Galaxy smartphone. Okay. This is a letter the day after telling Ray Ormond, who I don't know who that is because God forbid I would have looked that up. I already have 50 windows open. I can't open 50 more. But this is actually letting him know that he knows when the Attorney General's meeting is going to be, that he has to get all of his staff together because they have to get their story straight, right? He's like, they're going to get barrage with questions. Get everybody together. We can't wait. We got the time. They got here, pull everybody in. Let's have this discussion before they get here. Either they were getting their story straight about where they lacked, or they're getting their story straight by saying what it is that they want them to say, right? Okay. Oh, people. Okay, here we go. So this is again to Ray Ormond. Now, this is 8/12, so he died on the 10th. The getting everybody together at the jail was on the 11th. This is the next day on the 12th. Okay. So the subject matter is psych observation, 7/8/2019, 6 p.m. until 7:10. Until 7:10. Sorry. Okay, anyway, I thought I heard somebody at the door. So it says psych observation, Epstein, Jeffrey Edward, text, and then it says charismaedge.bcf. And then the email says, I'll resend all the emails. There was a total of 4. I'll double check the attachment before resending. Oh, Charisma Edge is the associate warden of the, whatchamacallit. And then it says, Ray Orman, when I try to open, it says, quote, document cannot be opened because it's corrupt or damaged. So, okay. So what I'm assuming is, what I'm assuming is that I hate living in an apartment building. I really do. Oh, I have my balcony door open. Okay, that makes sense. Anyway, so what this person is saying, not this person, but what the associate warden is actually saying is that they're trying to send them the whatever information that's in this 4 pieces of information, and they need to double check it before they resend it. But she's saying that yeah, they sent it, but that the file is corrupted. So, and this is the psych observation. I didn't even know that they had that on tape, because I think the ones that they keep showing is just like his interrogation, but they're saying they actually have 2 days worth of video of his psych eval. 7, 8, 9, 2 months before he supposedly unlives himself. So that's fun. 2 days. They have 2 days. Okay. Now this is again to Hugh Horowitz, and this is 8/11. Again, this is the next day after he unalived himself. So it says both Hugh and Ray. Can you verify that the information below is accurate? It is based in large part of a timeline you set. Is there any reason why this information shouldn't be released to the public? Question mark. It says on July 23rd, Epstein was placed on suicide watch and received medical evaluation. Epstein received daily psychological evaluations while on suicide watch. On July 29th, Epstein was removed from suicide watch by Psychology Services Department at MCNN, which is the jail, New York, after daily interaction with him and according to established procedures. This is going to get good. Epstein was returned to the special housing unit, which is SHU, with a requirement that he have a cellmate. So they made it a requirement that he have a cellmate. The super famous guy, the super rich guy, and they're like, we have to take him back. Everything's fine. His brain is fine. Everything's fine. But he needs to have a roommate, to hug and love on. Okay. It says he was the same cellmate from the date until August 9th. When did this dude die? On the 10th. So it says with his same cellmate from the date until August 9th. In addition, the SHU confinement includes frequent head counts as well as 30-minute checks. On August 9th at about 8 a.m., Epstein's cellmate was taken out of the institution for a court appearance, right? So the dude's just gone. Like, he's not gone, like, out of the cell. He's gone out of the building, right? It says the inmate was eventually released from custody by the court and did return to the institution. Okay. So the day before, he's taken from Crazy Town, right? They put him back in a cell with somebody. The day before he supposedly unalived himself, they take his buddy, they take his roommate. They say, hey, you got a court case, let's take you out of the building. They take the dude out of the building. They let him off on his court case, and he's released. He never goes back to the cell. Like, he gets released from jail. How do you wind up in a jail cell with a person like Jeffrey Epstein, and then you get released the day before? What were you released for? What were you there for? Anyway, on August 9th, I already read that.
You're my family and I love you, but you're terrible. You're all terrible.
I hate when my dad does that. Sorry, I'm just going to have to move this little chat button down. I told him I was doing a live. Anyway, on August 9th, Epstein was on a legal visit with his lawyers all day until 6:45. Epstein returned to his cell with no cellmate, even though Epstein was on psych alert, which included a requirement that he have a cellmate. That explains it. I didn't think about that. So they're like, hey, if you're going to off yourself, you need to have a buddy so your buddy can help? Or what's he going to start yelling and screaming? Like, I don't understand that. That doesn't
You're my family and I love you, but you're terrible. You're all terrible.
I'm so sorry. I can't. If I close this, I'm not going to be able to. Anyway, it'll be fine. And that's a Bob's Burgers reference. Anyway, So Epstein was in a legal visit with his lawyers all day. So he was required to have a cellmate, and no cellmate was assigned to his cell on August 9th. On August 10th, at about 12 a.m., while in his cell, Epstein acknowledged a correction officer performing a routine check. After midnight, it appears that not all of the checks required to be performed were actually done. On August 10th, at approximately 6:33, staff began serving breakfast and found Epstein unresponsive in his cell. Staff called for assistance and began CPR. When EMS arrived at the institution, he was transported to the hospital where he was pronounced dead at 7:36 a.m. Dad. Anyway, so here's what we got so far, because I don't know how much longer. I only been here 2 hours, it'd be fine. Hold on. Okay. Anyway. Alright, this is what we got so far. We know he was seen, we know he was recorded for 2 days in his psych eval, which I don't think has been released. They wound up putting him in a cell because apparently when you're a suicide watch, you have to have, not security watching you, you need to have another inmate, another criminal with you in the same cell. The day before he offs himself, now mind you, I don't know if you remember this, I think I talked about it the other day. He made a phone call on the 9th. He made his last phone call on the 9th, the day before he killed himself. The person he called was Kayla Shuliak, girlfriend. He made one last call. He called her. Remember who she is. She's a 10-year, the girl who got the 33-carat diamond and who was put in to take everything from the estate. Even though we know that he had a different will that was called the 1953 trust. I know this shit's starting to get confusing, right? Okay. Oh, and then we know that his buddy that was supposed to be there, excuse me, the buddy that was supposed to be there wound up getting out of jail the day before. So I don't know how this is not the weirdest shit. If I close this window right now and I went on YouTube, everybody will be talking about Bondi or somebody else getting arrested or resigning. I want to hear this stuff. Are you kidding me? Did you know that? Did you know he had to have a cellmate? Did you know that that guy got off, like he left the facility and then was let go? He went to court, so we think. And they were like, all right, well, like it's crazy, you know, whatever. Maybe it was because you were babysitting. You were babysitting Epstein, so that's counted as points off your time. What? Okay. Now, here's another, their name is redacted. Again, I don't know what that is. But it says from blank, OAG, and then it says at usdoj.gov. So even though they're this stupid, they're not putting their name there. They left that it's from the DOJ. They left the timeline and the date. Like, you can't just punch into the computer who was running the DOJ in August of 2019. The lack of common sense is terrifying. Okay. Okay, this is pretty much everything I had already read about him and them getting breakfast and then finding him unalived in his cell. All of this is just, okay, here's one more, I guess. Oh, this is from Fox News, but this is from 2019. So this is a media inquiry, and it says former AW Shirley Skipper Scott and case manager D. Meebane. And it says, for sake of speed, the subject is media inquiry, and the name to and from is redacted, of course. Again, simple searches would give you the answers. I didn't do the simple searches, but I'm just going to tell you the time. It says former AW Shirley Skipper, keep that, and the case manager D. Meebane, that's M-E-B-A-N-E. This was 11/14/2019, so I think, and it says Fox News, so I think if you just punch in those names and that date, you'll find out who, to, and from. This is, ugh, people are so stupid. Then the name is redacted. The person that said it. They said for speed, for sake of speed. And I decided, blank, and I decided for me to pass along to you quickly this very rough draft for the second inquiry pertaining to MCC New York below for you to review and edit as needed and send back to blank or a Nero review. I don't know what a Nero review is. Just like the last email, and blank will get back to me. To be sure, I'm clear. As background, do you know if A.W. Skipper Scott and case manager blank were working? I don't know why it says blank. It says the name right there. D. Meebane. Jesus Christ. Were working at MCC New York before Epstein's death or anything the reporter might be wondering about. In parentheses, feel free to not answer if part of the Epstein investigation. I'm ignorant of names involved. And then it says, question Fox News. Hi there. Can you confirm whether case manager blank is still working with SHU inmates at MCC, or has he been transferred to a different caseload unit or facility after Jeffrey Epstein's death? Also, can you confirm the status of Assistant Warden Shirley Skipper Scott? And then a whole bunch of shit that's redacted. Now, mind you, remember, this is correspondence with Fox News back in 2019. And they're actually saying, hey, listen, we're giving you a heads up. We just need to, do the checks and balances. Let's make sure that we're on the same page before we go and put this out. Because of course. And then this whole bunch of redacted shit. And then it says, here were the 3 recent answers we sent to media asking questions related. We declined to comment as the case is currently under investigation by the FBI and the DOJ. Okay. This is what it says. Here are 3 recent answers we sent to media asking questions related to Epstein. So they're pretty much saying, if anybody asks you, this is exactly what you have to say. We decline to comment, as the Epstein case is currently under investigation by the FBI and the DOJ. Any question, that's going to be the answer. If anybody asked, anybody that was in SHU, any of the wardens, the assistant wardens, anybody involved with not paying attention or maybe making sure things happen the way that they were supposed to, that has to be their answer, because everything above this is completely redacted. The whole thing. The names, they have redactions within a redaction. There's a redaction this big in a box, and then there's this little tiny redaction in the box. Like, they want to make sure everything was gone, but they wanted to double make sure. I was going to try to, black it out and see if I can see anything. You can't. And then it says this message and it's okay. So it's Public Information Office of the Federal Bureau of Prisons. And this is again Fox News, 11/14/2019 at 3:45. It says, hi there. Can you confirm whether blah, blah, blah. They're asking the same question. But then on the bottom, it says, now mind you, this is Fox News, and they're asking questions from the Federal Bureau of Prisons. And on the bottom, it says, this message and its attachment may contain legally privileged or confidential information. It is intended solely for the named addressees. The named addressees. If you are not the addressee indicated, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Does it have everybody's name on it? No, it says network title job is the unit manager. Like, these are all so easy. Like, it doesn't make sense. They keep the end of their email addresses because it's at bop.gop, right? And then it has the office number that starts with a 718. I know it's a long time ago. I was born and raised in New York. 718 is it's a Queens. Oh my God. I think this is my sign. I don't even know how to tell them. All right, I'm gonna come back in a minute. I don't know. It might be important. All right, this will give you some time to actually take a break. I'll be back in a minute.